Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. How are you doing, my good people? This is the Legal Edge. Yes, your law show where we discuss law issues and try to educate you on the law. This morning we are talking about something sacred, emotional, and sometimes complicated. We are discussing marriage and divorce. Marriage is often seen as a beautiful union of two people, but beyond the love, there's a legal framework that defines rights, responsibilities, and yes, exit routes. Today on The Legal Edge, we are diving into the legal side of marriage and divorce in Nigeria. Whether you're planning to say I do, already married, or considering a divorce, this conversation will help you understand what the law says and how to protect yourself. And to help us understand this topic, I have a senior lawyer with me in the studio this morning. She's the principal partner of Akeo's Partners. Amaimi Bridget Bekei Alaki. Thank you so much, Ma, for joining me. Good morning. How are you doing this morning, Ma? Thank you for joining us on this episode.
Thank you.
Yes, we are discussing marriage and divorce. My name is Mary Ogbe. I am your host, and it's a continuation of our Love and Law series for the month of February. Please stay with us as we embark on this short commercial break. When we return, we'll be sharing the heartbreaking story of Boma and Priye. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us on The Legal Edge. I'm your host, Mary Ogbe, and in continuation of our Love and Law series, we are discussing marriage and divorce this morning. Yes, you can join the conversation by calling us on 0912-000-1975. When we start talking about the topic, you'll really understand what marriage and divorce is about. And, you can join with your questions and your comments. But this morning, we are starting out with the very heartbreaking story of Boma and Priye. Boma and Priye had a quiet court wedding and began building a life together in Yenagoa. Over the years, Boma supported Priye as he started his business, and together they bought land and built a house. But after 10 years, things fell apart. Priye moved out and began living with someone else. Boma was heartbroken, but more shocked when she found out Priye was already planning to marry this new woman without officially divorcing her. Boma is confused and unsure of her rights, and she has so many questions. What happens to the house that they built together? Can he marry someone else while he's still married to her? Does she have to file for divorce, or does she wait for him? What happens to their children? So many questions. Yes, that's our story this morning, and while we are trying to answer Boma's questions, and I think we'll answer a lot of the questions under this topic this morning. Please, Ma, what do you think of this very heartbreaking story, Ma?
Okay, so looking at it, I'm going to just dissect it, looking at the legal issues. One issue is there's a contract, statutory marriage. At one point, there was cohabitation, there was support, they were owning properties. And then they went to desertion, and then they went to intentions, suspected intentions, then put it that into to remarry. There was actually another relationship that was entered into by one of the parties. So those are the issues that will come into play.
Yes. Okay, so let's first start off with we've now seen that there are a lot of legal issues with this story. But let's start by simplifying what is court marriage, church marriage, and traditional marriage under the law. Between you and I as lawyers, we know that it's registry, but most people know it as court marriage. So let's just explain what these things are for our public.
Okay, so I'll start with the traditional marriage. It's what most of us know. It's actually the payment of bride price according to the custom of the woman you're getting married to. Of what this is actually known everywhere in Nigeria. And then I'll take the court marriage, which is actually the statutory marriage. It is actually there's no marriage known as church marriage recognized under Nigerian law. It's actually church blessings. You don't there's nothing spectacular about having a church marriage. However, some churches may actually be licensed, by and they can actually celebrate by being licensed. It means they're actually a licensed place of celebration of statutory marriage. So when you actually conduct your marriage in those churches, you find out that what you're actually contracting is a statutory marriage. But when you not, and then so you have the marriage certificate. But when you have just the church blessings, some of the churches gives you certificates bearing the name of the church. That's actually not a marriage, just a church blessing. There's no law that says it can be dissolved one way or the other, except of course you are being subjected to religious principles. So that's the difference within the three marriages.
Oh, okay. So from what you're saying now, it may not actually be necessary to do a marriage in the registry and do another one in the church that is already licensed, because it's the same thing.
No, you don't need to. If the church is licensed, no need to go to the registry. What you're doing in the church is also
it's exactly the same thing.
Yes,
you get thing that you get at the registry.
So the church premises become one that you're able to display notices of the marriage for 21 days and the rest. So they do that, have your passport, and then anybody that have objection, and then the marriage celebrated, and it is registered. So if you even go to the church registry, you find out that your record is there. If you go to the marriage registry in that local government, you find out that you're married, because they actually will submit a copy there to say they have actually conducted a marriage in these premises which we have actually licensed.
Okay, so this thing that churches do, that they will call out the couple and say if anybody has any issue with these two people getting married, come and tell us within this specific time. They are actually following the law. And not necessarily just whims and caprice of, sometimes you don't really know the symbolism of the things that we do. If it's a licensed place and they call out the couple and say if you have any issues, is synonymous to having their passports up, which they can still have, and if there are objections, people should come and register those objections before the actual event.
Well, it being synonymous, because I can't actually say, but what the law says is that there should be a publication notice pasted. So if they're doing extra by calling the couples out, that's not really what the law says. The law says paste notice, but maybe an extra thing for them to know within the church policies. They could actually do that.
Okay, all right. Is bride price payment necessary for a marriage to be legal?
For a customary marriage to be legal, yes. That's the only thing that actually legalizes customary marriage. And that is the only thing that actually takes away, especially when it is returned, that will take away the existence of a customary marriage. So no other thing other than the payment of bride price. And of course, payment of bride price, it legalizes customary marriage.
Okay. So in essence, customary marriage is legal.
It's legal. In fact, if you go to if you have customary marriage and you do not want to contract a statutory marriage, you can go to the registry and have your customary marriage registered. So it will be documented that you actually carried out this said marriage. There's a provision for that. So it's legal. And I do not think why it shouldn't be legal. Why do we have to hype so much a marriage that is foreign to our own custom and not legalize that which is ours? So I think that and that's what is being done today. So it's legal, it's proper, and that's why I keep arguing that the two marriages are different and no one actually consumes the other. We'll come to that.
Okay, so so you see, the marriage that you went to your father's house and your husband paid some money, it's completely legal, and every other thing is just fanfare, So, yes. So, if you have any questions, comments, we are discussing marriage and divorce this morning. You can call us on 0912 000 1975. Okay. Next question. Can a person married under customary law go ahead and do a marriage registry, like a court wedding later? And what is the implication of that?
Okay, the answer is yes. Then that's what is being called a double-decker marriage. So you do your customary marriage and go ahead to do the statutory marriage. It's customary marriage and then statutory marriage. So there are two different theory on this. What are the implications? Some persons, scholars, lawyers, believe that, and of course we've looked at authorities. We have authorities, case law that suggests that once the customary marriage is contracted and you go ahead to contract the statutory marriage, that the customary marriage actually is extinguished. It's no longer is in existence. But another school of thought. Now that is the another school of thought says that look, those marriages actually coexist. They don't. You don't. One does not actually extinguish one, because there's nowhere in the Marriage Act that says that that does not. In fact, the Marriage Act actually recognizes customary marriage. The Marriage Act itself. Now, there's nowhere that the Marriage Act actually says that once a customary marriage is contracted between two persons, it no longer exists. It didn't say that.
Okay,
and so,
sorry, I have to cut you. Let's just take this call. The call's coming in.
Okay.
All right. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. What's your name and where you calling from, please?
Yeah, it's Moses from Sagwama.
Okay. Can you reduce your?
Okay, sorry.
Yes. Good morning. Yes. What's your comment or your question, sir?
Yes. What I want to ask is this. For instance, there's a traditional marriage is being conducted, but the person does not go to church or go to court.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. I think that's exactly what we are discussing now.
That's exactly the question. Answering. It's a legal marriage. So, I was actually talking about the double-decker marriage, and I said that there are actually a school of thought that says that once the statutory marriage is done, the customary marriage is no longer in existence. So the argument is that if there is dissolution, for instance, once you dissolve the statutory marriage, you don't need to go back and dissolve the customary marriage. But there's another school that says no. Once you dissolve the two marriages are governed under two different laws. The law that actually creates and recognizes the customary marriage is different from the one that creates and recognizes the statutory marriage. And so there are actually different grounds upon which you can actually dissolve such marriage, and different conditions that of course can be met. So why do you now say that if I meet the grounds? Of course, there are case law that says that you don't actually need to prove the grounds as stated in the Marriage Act when you're actually dissolving is a customary marriage. And the authorities that says that you must actually come to court to determine which marriage you are coming to court to actually dissolve. In the authority that said that you can't, I think it was authority I read, marriage was actually dissolved in England, and the court says that the only marriage they can actually dissolve is a marriage that was contracted by both parties. The statutory marriage that was contracted by both parties, that they have no authority, no jurisdiction to dissolve their customary marriage. It means that they recognize that we have our own custom that actually recognizes the customary marriage, that they cannot dissolve it. This is a borrowed law, and so it is actually called a double-decker marriage. I've always argued that the only time you find that the implication of a statutory marriage comes to play or overrides that of a customary marriage is upon the distribution of estate of a late spouse. So if a woman is deceased today, and her husband, because both of them are married under the Act and under custom, and both of them, and then on the distribution of the estate, it is the English law that will come to play in the distribution of her estate. I didn't want to use the normal examples we always have, that okay, if the man dies, the woman. So let it be known that if a woman dies today, the man, of course, the same. The man. Yes, a percentage, not all. A percentage. Yes. Now. So the man also stands in the same position as a woman, both spouses. So it is only on that part that we have the statutory marriage coming to play. But when it comes to dissolution,
My argument is this, and I would back that up with authorities that says that you have different laws. There are two different marriages. They are governed under two different customs, two different laws, and as such they should be dissolved in those two different ways.
Okay.
So you can't dissolve statutory marriage and then say, oh, we have dissolved statutory marriage, and
so
then
it's over. So at least there should be a return
yes,
of the
our
bride price.
tradition will tell you, no, you are still married.
You're still married. Yeah.
You're still married.
Okay, so we have another call. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
Yeah, it's still Moses Akoba.
Okay, sir.
So what I was saying is this. In instance that where the couples has an indoor marriage, there's like they don't have any marriage, but the bride price is being paid. You know, between 2-3 people and just the husband and wife, and they give a list. Yes. And the man paid. So now there's no church marriage, there's no court marriage.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, the marriage was being, let me say, the man now wants to marry another woman. What does the law say about that? Is he permitted to go ahead? And this time around, the second woman that the man wants to marry is taking her to court. The first wife is not being taken to anywhere, but the second one is being taken to court. Yes. Or to the church.
Thank you.
So what does the law say about that?
Thank you.
Is it proper?
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, I think we'll get to that question. It's on our list of questions. So, please just stay with us. We'll answer that question in the course of the conversation this morning. Okay, so let's go to the legal rights of spouses in a statutory marriage. What rights do husbands and wives have when they get married in under the law? You know, the statutory marriage.
Okay, so let's let's not make it like it, because a lot of persons actually get scared when it comes to statutory marriage. Yes. They say, the woman, especially they'll tell you that the woman will actually just collect all their properties.
Things, yes. So you see elderly people discouraging people from entering statutory. You want to take a go registry, no do more. You want to carry a go court, no do more. Now you go lose.
So under customary law we have where some customary laws will tell you that the woman actually does not have a right over children, custody of children, and basically custody of children is not something that can be determined holistically. You have to look at the specific case involved and look at the special circumstances of each cases, and then apply it. And so that's why the court has a lot of discretion to actually determine that. The reason why we have the customary courts actually created is because we want to be able to recognize these laws that are customary laws that are repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. And of course, the customary law courts have custody rights over custody of children. Now, what are their rights? One of the issues is either during dissolution of the marriage or upon demise. In customary marriage, you don't have the woman basically entitled to anything where there is a dissolution of marriage, except the court actually looks at marriage that the woman is entitled to some properties. Then of course that can be applied.
There's some matrilineal societies like the Nembe culture says that it's the woman that owns the children.
But then dissolution, is she actually entitled to property of the man? That's another thing. So but for statutory marriage, you find out that when it comes to maintenance, of course the woman, of course, and let me also say that it is not just the woman, the rights of both parties. Because if, for instance, the woman is doing well, or she has more properties, and it was acquired during the pendency of the marriage. Number two, of course, the other party actually contributed. Let me add that part, because women, we are always on that. When we contributed, of course, contribution may not be in finance only. I remember there was a case I was doing. The man said, look, the woman is entitled to a portion of my property because while I was building this property, I wasn't fending for the house for like the years, and so she contributed. So you could also be in that light. But most times women, when they come, they have issues, or they come and they don't have any evidence. They'll just say they just stayed with him and he's taking care of your bills, he's paying your family bills, and then you come and say you are entitled to. You need to show contribution, to the property, and of course support. And of course, like I said, the property must be been acquired during dependency.
Now,
upon the demise of any of the party, the other surviving party is actually entitled to a percentage, I've been told, of the estate of the deceased spouse. And of course, he or she becomes one of the administrators in the later administrator. Or, of course, you know that even with statutory marriage, where you say the woman or the man becomes the next of kin also, the demised person can also write a will.
Yes.
Which he can actually distribute his property the way or he or she wants. And so if he excludes you, it's your problem. But you see, so certain things, if you have a statutory marriage, you are scared, you could do a will and settle everything that needs to be settled.
Okay. So that takes away the fear that we have with statutory marriage.
Yes.
A will override.
Oh yeah. Yes, it will.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about how churches can actually give licenses to grant statutory marriage, or a marriage that is that is accepted under the law. Let us. So how can a person confirm if a church is a licensed place for celebration of marriage as opposed to just a place that does marriage blessings?
Okay, so one of the ways is of course going to the marriage registry to find out. Another way, of course, is to make inquiries from the church. The church will there's the application made to the marriage registry and approval. So you definitely get to know if you're asking them what sort of marriage is being contracted. Some churches would send you to the marriage registry first and tell you to come back. But you can find out from the marriage registry or even from the church. They will tell you, okay, they've made some application. And approvals are being made.
Okay, so we are trying to help you this morning. You don't need to do the whole, I'm going to court and you're going to church at the same time. You can save your money because you can get the same license that you want to get at the registry. You can get it at your church. Okay, yes, remember the number to call is 0912-000-1975. This morning we are discussing marriage and divorce. Okay, so what is the legal process for contracting a statutory marriage?
Okay, so the process is actually, like I said, either you go to the marriage registry and start up the process of picking the form, paying the required statutory fees, filling the forms, giving your details. They have your details notice pasted for the required period of time, and then you come back to the registry for the set celebration. Parties will be present in presence of witnesses, for the process to have gone. And of course, these notices are being documented. Certificates also will be given on that day and all that. The same. So if you want to do that for your church, you approach your church. The church also, they have their own internal policies. So, but of course, the church will also paste the notice. That's very important. And then, of course, pick a date for the marriage.
Okay. So yes, going to church, especially a place that is licensed.
Yes, the licensed place of celebration of statutory marriage.
Of statutory marriages can, Okay, so we have a call coming in. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Please, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, it's Timothy. My question, I don't think you understand it.
We understand your question, sir. We are saying that we'll get to it. It's part of our questions on the list, so we'll discuss it. Yeah. So just stay with us. You will hear the answer to your question very soon, sir.
Okay, because I just want to make it very clear.
No, it's very clear. It's very clear to us.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe we should just answer the question.
Okay.
So first of all, when you're married under customary marriage, you cannot contract a statutory marriage with the second person. The only marriage you can contract with the second person is a customary marriage, because it is permitted under our custom that, of course, a customary marriage is polygamous, so a man can actually marry a second wife. Under customary law, you cannot contract a second marriage with another person under statutory law. The subsequent marriage is null and void. Yes, it is null and void. It is only when you contract that set statutory marriage with the same first person, that is when it can subsist. But with another person, you cannot. You cannot also have married a person under statutory marriage, like Priye and Bomaskis, and then Priye now is going to get married to another person under custom. The subsequent marriage is a nullity. So I just answered the man's question. The second marriage, it's a nullity. It's a nullity.
Despite the fact that the first marriage was only a customary marriage.
Yes. It's a nullity, because, like I told you, the Marriage Act also recognizes customary marriage.
Oh.
It's a nullity.
Okay. And the Marriage Act does not recognize polygamy.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That's the difference between customary marriage is polygamous, while the statutory marriage is monogamous. So.
Okay. So let me ask a question. For example, the couple are in different. Maybe there is a wife somewhere else and there is a wife in another state, and they are not aware that this other marriage has been contracted. Does it? Is it the same thing?
Okay, so basically the application of these laws depends on how the humans involved triggers it. So you can actually have these two persons, even as I speak. The first marriage was by customary law, the second is by statutory law, and both of them live like that. If anything happened to the man, they still live like that and they go. Nobody goes to court to argue. Nothing will come to play. It is until somebody actually triggers it to say, because it takes a court of law to declare that a said subsequent marriage is a nullity.
Legal,
yes. It actually takes a court of law. So if nobody triggers it, you're just sitting on your rights, you're not doing anything about it, nothing would happen. You just have human beings, living together. That's it.
Can these what if at some point the man passes away? Can they now go to court and declare the subsequent marriage illegal?
Yes. Okay. That's where it's actually very dangerous.
Okay.
So in fact, even when I'll give an instance of a case where it was actually a lawyer that actually was involved in that matter. He married a lady and had children with her, left her for a while, and then went for divorce. Within the 3 months period upon which was his decree absolute was supposed to be granted, the decree nisi is granted at the first instance of dissolution. Then 3 months after, of course, the decree absolute. But within that period, he didn't wait. He married a second wife, and he died within that period. The law recognizes the first wife as still his statutory wife, and of course, did not recognize the second marriage.
Okay. So that takes us straight into the discussion of divorce. What are the recognized legal grounds for divorce under Nigerian law?
Okay, so divorce for statutory marriage and customary marriage are different. Of course, you can't just come to court for customary marriage say, oh, I just want a divorce. You must be able to show reason. There must be, cogent reasons why you want a divorce. And of course, the reliefs that will be granted will be maybe around the returning of bride price or what, and then of course custody of children. But for statutory marriage, one of the grounds, which is actually one very wide ground, is that the other party has behaved in a manner which the person seeking the dissolution is not expected to live with. And then the second is desertion for 1 year. Now, the deserting party cannot fall under claim this ground. So if you are the one deserting, you cannot come and say, I have deserted this person for 1 year, And so, no, it is the party who has been deserted that can actually rely on that ground.
Okay.
Now, there is also constructive desertion, which is actually not one of the things that are actually stated in Section 15 of the Matrimonial Causes Act. But of course, case law has actually said there's constructive desertion. For instance, both parties are staying in the same house, but you find out that they are actually not living together as husband and wife. There's constructive desertion. Of course, it can actually be a ground for dissolution of marriage. Then there's separation of 2 years, and we hope that separation of 2 years and the other party does not object to the dissolution. Then there's a separation of 3 years. Of course, you don't actually need whether to know whether the other party objects to or whether the other party does not object to. So it's in the law, case law, we see for the grounds of 3 years separation, it is giving a dead marriage, a decent bearer. So those are the grounds.
Okay, so you've learned the grounds for which you can initiate divorce. Okay, can a woman initiate divorce under customary law?
Yes.
How does she go about that?
I would always advise that let's make use of our customary practice. How is bride price being returned in your custom? Families have been called. If it gets to the point that you're unable to get the attendance of this family, then go to the court, the customary court that applies the said custom upon which the bride price was paid. Then you go to court and of course file a complaint, and of course it will be served, and you come to court to give evidence why the court should agree with you that dissolution of the marriage should take place, and then return bride price. But a woman can.
Okay, so if the families are not willing to accept, the courts can actually help you.
You mean the woman's family?
Yes. Sometimes, the family can decide, oh, you want to bring shame to our family. We are not doing this. We are not a family of divorce. So, that puts a woman in a terrible place. You don't want to continue with this marriage.
Yeah. Even if marriage between,
and the man too is not willing to,
yeah,
to accept the bride price that he paid.
So we recognize that marriage between customary law is basically marriage between both families. But notwithstanding, we have adults, and of course the court recognizes the rights of these individuals, that there's actually a contract that was entered into, but both of them are actually the ones performing this obligation. So a woman can actually go to court to return bride price.
Okay, so just quickly, what rights are available to either parties in a marriage when it is dissolved?
Okay, so
whether it's customary or statutory marriage.
So I think I've talked about that, circling around custody of children.
Children, yes, dissolution of the
talking about I'm looking at the rights of parties upon dissolution.
Yes,
right?
Upon dissolution.
Now you also will be talking about welfare. Talking about maintenance. Yes, we could also be talking about property distribution of settlement of property. That's the word for it, not distribution. Settlement of properties. So you now will now be looking at each of them to look at how am I going to be entitled to welfare of children, of course, custody, welfare of children, maintenance for the woman, and the rest.
Okay. Who gets custody of the children in a divorce?
There's no law that specifies who exactly gets what. Of course, there are guiding principles that has been stated in various cases, Williams against Williams and the rest. They actually are factors that to be considered. The relationship of the children, the fact that the children have to be together, the relationship of the children with each parties, who has actually been in custody of the children. What is, for instance, you could also be looking at proximity. What is the job description of each party? Are they able to provide attention for the children? So it is not just having money.
It's not a one size fits
yes
all.
If a person say, no, I have the money, I can take care of that, you can have million, but that's not what takes care of children. So you must be able to show that you have a good, for instance, there's a good accommodation for the children, or let the other party provide accommodation for the children, and you must show all of that for the court to be able to look at who is. So it's actually based on the discretion of the court, and of course the special circumstances applicable in that case.
So what happens to jointly owned properties after a divorce, and what about gifts that were given in the course of the marriage?
Gifts actually under the law, it's one that you cannot come and take back once you have given. So we're not talking about gifts. When you talk about gift, I'm looking at gift from one party to the other.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can actually get that back. But when it comes to joint property, of course, there could be you be seeking for relief to either have the property shared, or you find a way around it. So for instance, sometimes it could be, we own all of these properties, we have 4 properties, and we all contribute, because for fairness, 2 go to this side, 2 go to this side. So it depends on the circumstances. So but of course, gifts, as far as you have gifted and you have not stated anywhere that you can retrieve it, then forget it.
Okay. So finally we have this thing happen. I think you've also touched on it a bit. Can a person remarry immediately after divorce?
Now, the type of divorce would also be called to bear if it's customary marriage. As far as you return bride price, there's nothing hindering you from marrying.
The next day you can go and pay another.
My brother, pay. But then, if it is statutory marriage, the first, like I said earlier, once the court order is given, and you see this thing that they do in movies, I say bring divorce papers, because the statutory marriage is not dissolved by bringing court papers for you to sign in your house. You go to court and get a court order. So when it's done, the first order that is given is a decree nicer, which is not, is saying that you people can still come together finally for 3 months. The court is always in the nature of
leaning towards
settlement.
marriage.
Yeah, so they'll say no, come back within these 3 months. But after 3 months, a decree absolute is actually granted. Either you go back to the court to apply for it and it is given to you. So it is stated that by affliction of time, a decree absolute, of course you go back to get that decree absolute. So it is after 3 months after the grant of a decree nisi that you can actually get married statutorily to another person.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you, Barrister Bridget. Thank you for joining us this morning to discuss this very interesting topic. So we've been discussing marriage and divorce, and it's under our Love and Law series, and it's been very, very interesting this morning. So whether you're in love, whether you're going through something, now you've heard whether you can also set yourself, are you married under the law, or is it custom, or did you just do marriage blessing? So yes, we've talked about a lot of things this morning. Hope you've learned a thing or two. Thank you for staying with us on the show this morning. See you next week. Thank you so much, ma.
Thank you.
All right, have a good time up.
Feel the gold. 97.5 Golden FM by Yelsa's Music Powerhouse.
Guys, are we good?
Yeah.
Hey. Okay. Sensei. Say you go long. All right, that life is too short. So no go there. No go day one, no go day.